Michael Thomas. Michael Thomas, the most underpriced guy on the slate. There were guys on shows yesterday saying Michael Thomas should be 7,700. He should cost 8,000. What idiot would say something like that? Oh yeah, this guy. He was popping in optimals. My buddy Michael Leone made a $500 bet with Levitan and Wiggins that Michael Thomas would outscore Tyreek Hill. Rest in peace, Michael Leone. I mean, my goodness. My goodness. I love how everyone was worried about the matchup for Mike Evans, as Marshawn Lattimore was going to shut him down. Apparently, the matchup we needed to worry about was Carlton Davis on Michael Thomas. And if you guys want to know what what personal growth is, it's me learning more cornerback names. Carlton Davis is now another name I am adding to my lexicon. I've learned like 3 or 4 cornerbacks over the past few days. I now know who Jair Alexander is. Aren't you guys worried about Mike Evans getting covered by Jair Alexander next week? I am. I will say it feels good to be a week removed from what was one of the more tilting weekends of my life with that Browns-Steelers game, detonating a bunch of good lineups. But one good thing has come out of that now that I'm a week removed from it, because that night at halftime, I said, I can't watch this game anymore. And I left my phone right here at my desk and I went up to bed and I didn't come down and check it until after I had read, after I had meditated, all this stuff. And then I saw that my lineups had gotten blown to smithereens. But that has established a new routine for me that I have kept going, which is every night I leave my phone at my desk. I'm going no screen anymore. When I go to bed, no scrolling, no doom scrolling. When I wake up, I cannot look at my phone until I have done the things I need to do. So thank you to that Steelers-Browns game for launching a new beneficial habit in my life. Just had to get that off my chest. What's going on with the chat? Carlton Davis versus Adams. Yes. Yes. Did I say Carlton Davis? Yeah. We have Carlton Davis versus Adams and Jair Alexander versus Mike Evans. I mean, I am terrified. Murphy Bunting versus Adams. Okay. I can now I'm learning new names. Murphy Bunting. I actually did think I heard that name last night. So yesterday was a mixed bag for me. I played both of the spies as usual, the big spy, the baby spy, 4,600 in the big spy. Oops. I just realized I got my, this one was a 0. Whatever. And then in the little spy, 1,100, I actually had a nice finish. I finished 87th. Not quite up in that 1% range we're trying to get to, but a nice 8%. Had been a while since I had cracked the top 10% of a finish way back in week 13. So we'll take a look at those lineups. I thought it was a really, really interesting, God, I hate it when I say interesting slate. I normally say it ironically, and I just caught myself saying it unironically. It was an interesting slate because of how much time we had between games, how much news was changing things. The lineups I started with were truly shells. Like when we were making our tilt space lineups on Sunday, we just put in the Rams and Packers players we wanted and then just built out a shell around it without much care because we knew we were going to go in and change things. We were also under the gun. And that's kind of how my lineups kind of developed over the weekend, to where I basically rebuilt them on Sunday morning after everything that had happened Saturday. And we were also waiting on a ton of news. We were waiting on the Darrell Williams and Le'Veon Bell situation. We were waiting on, the Rojo situation. So there was a lot of stuff, a lot of moving pieces, and getting the added benefit of seeing kind of early ownership stuff as well. So it was a long weekend of tinkering lineups. And, yeah, we'll take a look at some of these here. What do we got going with Brandon? Played 2 lineups and put the wrong one in the bankroll challenge. Second lineup would have taken first. You know what? I did the same thing in that I had these 2 lineups here, and I think the one I put in the bankroll challenge was the one that scored 89.46. So yeah, I'm right there with you. I think I would have had, well, wouldn't have been that great. 133.37. Geez, you guys are good. Oh, no, I did have the right one in the bankroll challenge. Okay, never mind. I did. I finished 16th. We'll get to the bankroll challenge. We will get to it. Let's first look at my big spy lineup, which has what we would say, I think it's safe to say, a lot of snowflakes. 1 snowflake, 2 snowflakes, 3 snowflakes, 4 snowflakes, 5 snowflakes, 6 snowflakes, 6 snowflakes. That can't be good. How about when a guy is 42% owned and puts up 0 points? Is that good? Still working to confirm. So basically what I ended up doing with my lineups here, so you can see I started, actually, I think it's better to talk about them in conjunction because I built these 2 kind of side by side. So this was my other one that cashed. This one was the Mahomes onslaught, where I got in the premium double with Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, used Mecole Hardman for salary relief, Austin Hooper and Kareem Hunt in that game. And then from the day before, I just had Aaron Jones and Ravens D. So basically going into this day, I had only 2 slots used here, right? Jones and Ravens. And then over here, all I had was Higbee, Adams in the Bills. So in these lineups, I pretty much faded that Bills-Ravens game. And then I had basically 2 full shells to play with. And I decided to just kind of attack them with onslaughts of that game. You know, let's play one lineup over here where we just play the Chiefs-Browns shootout. And then over here, we will play the Saints in a rout. And I didn't do a bring back in this one, partly because I just had a take that, and this take proved to be disastrous, that the Bucks were going to slam, or the Saints were going to slam the Bucks. So I didn't do a bring back here. And it also was harder to do bring backs and get up to Thomas and Kamara when I had already used Adams. He was such a salary hog that you kind of had to make sacrifices elsewhere. I guess I could have done something in getting off Chubb, but because I was behind in this lineup with the Higbee dud, I felt like I needed to get in some unique plays with Brees and Chubb, knowing Thomas and Kamara were going to be so popular. So that was kind of my thought process there, a little mini with Chubb and Hardman. Didn't work out. I mean, the Saints just absolutely flopped. Absolutely flopped. I am a little surprised on this Kamara ownership, though. I mean, Kamara at 25% in the big spy, that's an absurd percentage for a guy with, once Latavius was ruled out, I mean, his touch expectation was so good. His red zone role was going to be so good. We saw last week when Latavius left with the injury, Kamara got all of the goal line work, all the red zone work. So this was similar in the game changer we played for Tilt Space. He was only like 28%. So I thought that was a huge inefficiency. I mean, we always knew someone was going to get squeezed. A couple of these guys, Adams and Kamara, I mean, that ownership is so low. But it made sense when you saw some of the other ownerships. I mean, Michael Thomas, Travis Kelce, Tyreek Hill, all of those guys getting huge ownership here. Let's see here. Yes, my lineups are so icy. Bills D was a nice play. Definitely nice having those guys going in. I split. What did I get over here? Yeah, I split those. That was what I was doing in most spots, was Bills or Ravens D. You hit with Bills, you whiff with Ravens. This week was a bloodbath, but some friends had some nice weekends. Justin Freeman, we did the show with him on Splash Play on Friday. Dude got third in the Millie Maker for 100,000. I saw Bales. You know, Bales finally catches a break. It's just so nice. I mean, that guy just runs so poorly. And congrats to Bales. I don't know what tournament he was in, but he won $150,000, a first place team. So it's nice for Bales to finally get off the schneid. I just hope he doesn't spend all that money on non-fungible tokens. Bales, maybe put some into a 401k. Looks like a DQ blizzard of a lineup. Yeah, this is a David Kitchen lineup right here. Lots of snowflakes, lots of blizzards. Thought it was the weather app calling for snow this week. Nope, that was my DraftKings lineup. Hey, Kevin Roth, where was your forecast about all these snowflakes in my lineup? I wouldn't have played had I known there was a nor'easter heading for my GPP teams. Stanley Smith, Drew Brees better not come back next year, was hard to watch last night. Yes, the Boomer Bowl was not a game I was getting very excited for. The Dust Bowl or the Boomer Bowl, which one do we like better? Both have very strong Midwestern ties to them, very Oklahoma sounding, Boomer Bowl, Dust Bowl. But that is what we had last night. Kind of a brutal day for quarterback play when you think about it. We lose, Patrick Mahomes goes down, going to be the greatest quarterback of all time, might not play in the AFC Championship game. And then we have to watch two 40-year-old boomers check it down 5 yards at a time. On the whole, game's pretty disappointing this weekend from a scoring perspective. Wanted more points. I wanted more points. Dust Bowl, Boomer Bowl. Yeah, I mean, he looked so woozy there. I was reading about it this morning. I was writing the Fantasy Life newsletter and stuff. And I mean, it's such a gross spot, right? Because Andy Reid is coming out saying, oh yeah, we're projecting optimism. Everyone's like, Patrick Mahomes is, tweeting Chad Henne puns. He's fine. He's fine. Well, first of all, he has to go through all the concussion protocol stuff. Apparently they can condense some of those stages into single days. I'm sure everyone's going to be making a push. But I mean, this dude is 25 years old. He's going to be the greatest quarterback of all time. I am personally willing to sacrifice watching Patrick Mahomes in this year's AFC Championship game if it means we get, 15 more years of Patrick Mahomes. Like, let's play the long game with Patrick Mahomes. Let's not do anything dumb with Patrick Mahomes. The dude probably shouldn't be playing, right? It sucks. It sucks, but it's probably the truth. So we'll see. We'll see. Very, very scary stuff. I mean, when people make the joke and they're like, he must be protected at all costs. No, Patrick Mahomes must be protected at all costs. Yeah, Pat and Lamar going down was a bummer. That was a bummer. The only fun thing I had going is, so normally every year for the divisional round weekend, I do a trip with my college buddies. We normally go to Vegas. Last year we went to Biloxi, Mississippi, but that's our weekend. We go, we bet on the games, we play poker at night, and we've done it every year for 7 or 8 years. Obviously this year, coronavirus ruined that, but we did some kind of a virtual version of it. We were hanging out in a video chat, and I was tasked with making bets for the Bills-Ravens game. I went 4 for 4 on these bad boys for my college buddies. We had Bills money line. We had the under. We had the Bills money line parlayed with the under. And here was the cherry on top. We had Lamar Jackson over 0.5 interceptions. So were we in a sportsbook cheering? No. But when Lamar threw that 103-yard pick six, that was good. That was a fun time. It felt good to share some camaraderie with my old college bros, even in a virtual sense. So that was nice to make some cheddar betting, which I normally don't do. All right, what else do we got here? Let's look at some of these lineups that shipped it here, see what these constructions were. We were talking about a lot of this stuff on the Tilt Space last night as well. If you guys enjoy the kind of tilting lineup review, DFS strategy talk, I have a link below to last night's Tilt Space. You guys can check that out when we're done. Aaron Rodgers, Gus Edwards, Cam Akers, Traquan Smith, Devontae Adams, Josh Reynolds, Travis Kelce, Stephon Diggs, Bills. Man, okay. Wow. So this is one of those Billy Baker looking lineups, right? We have multiple plays under 5%. We have burning the flex on Stephon Diggs. We have the Galaxy Brain Tre'Quan Smith play that got burned. Wow. This is one of those lineups that you look at and say, I would have never have made this lineup. Wow. Wow. Even getting the 4.2 from Gus, and it doesn't matter. This lineup is so funky. It doesn't even have Lazard. You would think normally the people who got there with Rodgers use Lazard as salary relief. Okay, let's talk through this construction because now my brain is trying to process what I'm seeing here. So in the early game, we have Rodgers to Adams with a Cam Akers bring back. Oh, and a Reynolds. I think that's fine, right? You get the premium pieces. You use 2 cheap Rams guys coming back. Okay, I think we're fine there. We're fine. Then we go to the night game and we play Stephon Diggs in Bills defense. I honestly think that's fine, but dude, you got to put on a 4-game slate that spans 2 days, you got to put Stephon Diggs up here. You got to. With all the running back value options that we're opening up, you got to have this flex open, bro. But who am I to talk? You won $100,000. How much did I win? Oh, I won 250. Net 150 if you include my losses there. So maybe he should be doing the bankroll lineup review. But that's what we do here. We shame other people who won money because then it makes us feel better about our losses. All right. So then he plays Diggs Bills. He's off to a good start. Then we roll into Sunday. He plays, I forgot the Gus Edwards. Okay, I forgot the Gus Edwards. The Gus Edwards against the Bills D. No, it did all come crashing down. I take back what I said about Diggs and Bills D. Gus Edwards, the game script dependent running back on the Ravens against his defense. 4.2 points. Then he rolls into Sunday. He plays Travis Kelce as a one-off tight end. Obviously, that's fine. And then he plays Tre'Quan Smith as a one-off wide receiver. I had a lot. Someone asked me if I played any Showdown this week. I did play Showdown on Sunday. I played the Bucs Saints one, and I actually had a decent amount of Tre'Quan Smith captain. I just didn't have enough Lenny Fournette, and that buried me. But anyways, Tre'Quan Smith on a Showdown slate, he was actually popping. On this main slate, wow, he was not on my radar. And what's crazy too is I'm just guessing based on the fact that he burned the flex on Diggs that Tre'Quan Smith was in his lineup at lock, which was before we even got confirmation on Latavius and Taysom Hill being out. It is wild. How much was Allen Lazard? Was Allen Lazard 3,400? The dude ran an Aaron Rodgers stack and chose Tre'Quan Smith over Allen Lazard. Or was Allen Lazard more than that? He might have been more. I bet I can find him. 3,900. 3,900. So he had 100 left. So he couldn't get up to Lazard, although I would have been finding a way to get up to Lazard with my Rodgers team. What a wild team. What a wild team. It is true. I feel like there's an extremely high correlation between burning the flex and winning GPPs. To own the libs, you must first own yourself. To win a GPP, you must first burn the flex. We need to all get that tattooed on us. We've all been doing it wrong. Burn the flex, win a GPP. Put $1 in, win a car. Put $1 in, win a car. Burn the flex, win a GPP. Vegas vacation reference. Yeah. Diggs, Bills D with the Gus bring back. This guy, man, too tall, 8. He's got it figured out. Anyone see a report on Mahomes? One of my law enforcement friends thinks his jugular got compressed and caused a temporary knockout. Wow. That's okay. Yeah, I mean, it did look weird watching the tape in that it was hard to tell exactly what happened. But when he got up woozy, it just looked like a classic concussion symptoms there. In order to get the flames, you need to burn a flex. Sure. If it's not too tilting, can you talk more through your feelings about Williams over Bell and the combos with Leone and why he was so high on Bell? Yeah. So this is a good one here. I ended up in these two lineups. I didn't end up, where's mine? Did I have him in this one? Interesting that I didn't end up with him in either of these lineups. But yeah, so Darrell Williams versus Le'Veon Bell was obviously one of the tougher decisions yesterday once we knew Clyde Edwards-Helaire was ruled out. Basically what happened is I was looking back at, I thought the week 16 game against the Falcons when CEH was out, that was a must-win game for the Chiefs. And to me, I thought they tipped their hand that game. And the mentor, Darrell Williams, out-touched Le'Veon. He out-targeted Le'Veon. He played 40 more snaps than Le'Veon that game. And to me, I read that as this is the team showing us how they want to handle their running back situation when the chips are on the line. And it also kind of confirmed how we've seen them operate in previous years. They brought on the veteran last year, LaShawn McCoy. They tried the experiment. It didn't work out. Andy Reid went away from it. He just completely moved on with LaShawn McCoy, and he gave Damian Williams the reins when it mattered in the playoffs. And so to me, I saw this kind of unfolding similarly without CEH. It's like Le'Veon Bell has shown nothing. They've already proven they're willing to give Darrell carries over him. Why wouldn't we assume Darrell Williams is going to be the guy today? And then on top of that, he was cheaper and going to be lower owned. So that's where I was about an hour before the game. And I'm not throwing Leone under the bus here. I willingly caved. And so he had sent me a conversation between John Paulson and Nathan Janke from PFF. And Paulson had posted those similar splits from week 16 and I believe week 13. And Nathan had pointed out that Bell was injured that week. And then Levitan and Leone, I believe, did some digging on the practice reports, and Bell had missed a lot of practice leading up to week 16. So then my entire thesis for the Darrell thing in that week 16 kind of fell apart if it was injury related. Then it was, oh no, Darrell just got the lion's share because Bell wasn't ready to go. So then I went back to thinking, okay, maybe this is just more of a true 50-50 split. At that point, I thought, I don't feel conviction enough in either way. And in our Tilt Spates lineups, we had two lineups, one where we didn't have the salary to get up to Bell, so we rolled Darrell, and then one where we did have the salary and we played Bell. So ultimately, I went from thinking 100% Darrell Williams over Le'Veon to it's probably a 50-50. Let's just split it where it makes sense. So that was kind of how the Darrell and Le'Veon thing transpired for me. Obviously, I wish I would have kept my conviction on Darrell. And, sometimes I'm having to check my own biases, right? I hate these dusty old dudes. Leonard Fournette, Le'Veon Bell. I mean, these guys are guys I'm willing to fade at all costs, but I've tried to also plug that leak in my game. I've tried to think more holistically about these situations and not just let my biases make these decisions. But I thought the evidence pointed toward Darrell being the guy. I got new evidence and I backed off that take, and I ended up with less Darrell Williams because of that. So that is how the sausage got made on the Darrell Williams versus Le'Veon Bell thing. But it sounds like some of you guys went in on Darrell, which is good. I think the savings there and the ownership were meaningful. We talk a lot about there's so few edges now in DFS from an information perspective. All of the information is widely available. Everyone has access to it. Everyone's getting push alerts. Everyone's tout is giving them the spin on it. But sometimes we find these situations where the information isn't as clear and digestible for everyone. The CEH news doesn't happen until the last minute. I think the Josh Reynolds thing is actually similar as far as it pertained to Cooper Kupp being out. Because we didn't have a week leading up to that with content people being able to push these ancillary Rams pieces with Kupp out, you didn't see the ownership insane. So I was, in our tilt space lineups, we had a Robert Woods, we had a Josh Reynolds, and we had a Tyler Higbee. Like, who are the guys that are going to see a target increase because of this Cooper Kupp news? And I think a lot of people, like even myself, sometimes I'll run the optimals, I'll look at the projections, and then news happens, and I don't have time to go rerun that stuff. I don't have time to be like, oh my God, Josh Reynolds is popping in every optimal. Like, this is a guy at low ownership we need to get in. So the point I guess I'm trying to make with both like the Darrell stuff and the Josh Reynolds stuff, and sometimes it doesn't work out. Like Tyler Higbee, he put up what did he put up in this lineup? A 2.5. But those are the edges we're trying to push, where there might be an information disparity, where the new reality of the situation hasn't become common knowledge across the DFS playing ecosystem. And so I think Darrell was a good example of that, of an edge we want to push, especially at that price and ownership. Let's see. Anything else interesting here? I mean, one thing, in this lineup, I did play Singletary, which Singletary was a guy I had a hard time with. I understood why he was going to be, bad chalk at 50% where he was at, but I could feel, because we had the cheaper running backs opening up, people were going to play Fournette. People were going to play a Chiefs running back. I did think Singletary's ownership was going to drop a bit. And I think at 4,500, a guy who was going to get all of the running back touches for the Bills at 25 to 30% was fine. Obviously, I wish I would have been on, Darrell Williams there instead. But I think Singletary at 30% was fine. They end up running the ball 6 times. Josh Allen drops it back 44 times. It is what it is. It was just a game, too, that the pace of it was slow. One of their possessions was a pick 6. So things just didn't break right in Singletary. But at 4,500, he doesn't need a ton to get there. So I don't mind the Singletary play. My probably big regret, my big whiff, was I was out on Akers at that ownership. I just couldn't bring myself to play a guy I wasn't convinced was going to catch passes, who was going to be 60% owned on a team with the lowest implied team total of the slate, in a spot I thought the Packers were just going to maul them. It just wasn't something I got excited about. Obviously, the volume was going to be there. And the price was good. I get it. I just thought at 60%, there were other places I would have liked to go with my builds. So yeah, that was, I don't know. He didn't even kill you necessarily at 18.6. What do we got, Clay? I think next year I'm going to try to intake less content overall and not build any lineups until 1 hour before lock. Yeah, we've talked about this throughout the year. I definitely think, almost out of necessity this year, I've listened to less content just because I've been so busy. And partly of why I like to listen to content is normally because I just want to hang out and listen to the people I like and hear them talk about things. That said, it's a double-edged sword, because then sometimes you get influenced, you get anchored to ideas, you get pigeonholed into specific plays. And that's why for me this year, one of the big things I made, I can go over to my sheet here, that really helped me out was just focusing on, let me get over here, focusing on the stuff that matters to me, looking at the data, and then coming in. I would do this every morning on Sundays or before the slate started, and just look at a few of these variables. Literally, these columns are price, ceiling projection, average ownership across the industry, and points per dollar play. These are the values I'm trying to juggle. And the whole thing, the reason optimizers and projections are so beautiful is because they start to juggle some of those variables for you. But stuff that's always trips me up on, and I like viewing it all in one row here, is, okay, yes, I'm seeing the screaming red on Devin Singletary's ownership, but look at how he's separating as a points per dollar play from the rest of the field, 5.49 points per dollar relative to his projection. So those are the things I want to make sure I don't miss, because in years past, I would just look at the ownership and be like, I have to fade this guy. I have to fade this guy. Whereas now I'm trying to just have a quick snapshot of these, and it helps me go through and make some of the decisions on these guys I want to play. And I'm not anchored to just hearing someone say, Devin Singletary is a must play. He's a must play. Well, I want to be able to see it updated on Sunday with updated ownership, updated projections, updated value, and then make those lineups in a clear frame of mind. So that was a big shift for me this year, and I'm very happy with how it went. I think I blocked out a lot of noise. I think I started focusing on the right things, and in this part of my process was a big part of that. Let's see. Maybe I should just have my mom make my lineups 30 minutes before lock at this point. It's tough too, because the other side of that coin is there is value in having your finger on the pulse of what everyone's doing, right? We've had instances with lineups where it's like you have this stuff where the content that comes out on Monday and Tuesday, the first look at salary stuff, they're basically establishing the chalk. They're looking, they're like, oh, this guy's way too underpriced. This guy's a great play. That stuff happens earlier in the week. So then throughout the week, we have this kind of consensus on the best play solidifying. Then the GPP bros sweep in on Fridays and Saturdays. I do my strategy show on Friday. You get Leone and Dink doing their stuff on Saturday morning. And then we start saying, okay, this consensus has been established. How are we going to pivot off of it? How are we going to find the plays that have just as high of a ceiling that aren't being owned? But then there's this now mini phenomenon, especially in the higher, smaller contest fields, where people then are reacting to that. Now everyone's on the trendy GPP play. All the GPP bros are on the trendy pivots. And now maybe the pendulum slings back. And some of these guys at the beginning of the week we were talking about are now actually going to be moderately owned. And so having your finger on that pulse can be very helpful in realizing and capitalizing on those situations. I mean, the best example we had, it was actually the week that Dak Prescott got injured, but that was the week where on paper at the beginning of the week, the Dak Prescott Cowboys wide receivers were the smash. Everyone talked about it beginning of the week. And then the GPP bros came in and said, no, everyone, you got to play the Chiefs. Now no one's playing the Chiefs. Well, then everyone was playing the Chiefs. And then the Cowboys went under own and we jammed them. And that was one of those situations we would have never have sussed out if it's not for keeping an eye on ownership. So when I go in my spreadsheet, I know some of these numbers here, and then I'll go and pull in updated ownership and I'll see a guy's ownership plummet. And those kind of changes are something I really keep an eye on. I actually should figure out a way to build into my spreadsheet some kind of a change log so I could see which guys are moving up and down the most. I'm sure someone like Fanshare Sports has a feature like that because I know they focus on the trending, the hot players, the guys whose ownership is dropping. But I think that stuff's very valuable, specifically for small field. Because in the big field, it's just way too many people for some of these smaller percentage movements to affect the overall ownership of 100,000 person field. But if you're playing in the juke or, the game changer or anything under 750, 1,000, I mean, these are people who have their finger on the pulse, and these kind of news, the one tout that people trust, planting their flag on a play, that can legitimately move ownership 5 to 10 percentage points. So I guess what we're saying here is we're trying to juggle those things. We're trying to not get anchored, not, be these plastic bags floating in the wind, but we also want to know what other people are doing because this is still ultimately a game against other people. I have finally done it, Pete. I left the GPP bros to join the cash game grinders. It's much better for my bankroll and mental health. I think that's fair to say. I've had some trickle down cash play after Cash Game King Week, and I agree with you for sure. It's definitely better for bankroll and mental health. And that has to be a factor, right, to our DFS play. Like if we're doing this and we are just ripping ourselves up inside with the tilt, with the sweat, with not, being able to stomach the swings of GPP play. Yes, play the game style and the format that is sustainable and ultimately good for your mental health. So yes, I will never begrudge anyone. I think I've found kind of a sweet spot where the key for me to not tilting tournaments has been really good bankroll management. I know that there is never a slate I have to win, otherwise I'm going to feel shitty about where my bankroll is at. I do really feel that, like, when I submit these tournaments, I always think the analogy is very good for getting chips for a poker tournament. You give them the $100, they give you 10,000 in chips. Those chips are now devoid of their relationship with that $100. These are ammo to play a game. That's how I think about it now. When I submit my GPP lineups, that money is gone. I now have the salary cap that is ammo to win a game. And if I lose it, that's fine, but I'm trying to make the best possible thing to get first place. And so just knowing and staying dialed in with my bankroll management makes me tilt less. It makes this something where, other than last week where I got blue balled, my mental health and my lack of tilting is generally pretty good as it pertains to impacting the rest of my day, the rest of my week. So I think that is important. Experiment with that stuff. See how your moods fluctuate with playing GPPs versus cash. And if you're seeing a marketable difference to your mental health playing cash, I mean, of course, go for it. Go for it. But I do really think the bankroll management is a big part of that, and kind of changing your relationship to how you think about those lineups relative to the money it cost to enter. Yeah. Football is cool and all, but let's break some fucking Top Shot packs, baby. Yeah. I'm getting pretty excited about Top Shot. I'm a little tilted right now because they did an identity verification thing. I guess once you buy X amount or, get X amount of packs, you have to get your identity verified. My thing failed. And so now my account is basically locked until their support gets to it. And they're absolutely swamped with support requests right now. So I'm a little tilted. That said, I definitely plan to do some Top Shot content. We'll break open some packs. I want to bring on some people who are knowledgeable in the space, because the past few times I've talked about it, like I talked about it with Pete on my show on Friday. We talked about it a little bit on the tilt space, but I realized we've never done kind of like a primer really of fully trying to dig into it. So I want to bring in people who actually know the site inside and out. So yeah, we'll do some Top Shot videos here very soon. Good morning, Matt Murphy. Any specific position that you would rather eat chalk at in a lineup? Does being a contrarian player change that? There's a few ones where I don't want to eat chalk, I would say. I'm normally, I would say, quarterback, tight end, and defense. I'm less likely to want to eat the chalk there. Normally, because with quarterback, there's generally a flatter range of projections around the options. So a guy isn't separating as much. Not necessarily applicable yesterday on a 4-game slate with Mahomes, but in general, defensive scoring, super random. We don't want to be eating the chalk there. And then tight end also been an incredibly volatile position. You're basically, sometimes you'll see what will happen is I guess yesterday was a good example. Like Austin Hooper is projecting for, 6 or 7 targets, and he is going to be 50% owned. Tyler Higbee probably projecting for 4 or 5 targets and is going to be 10% owned. So I never want to eat the chalk on those more fragile positions. And yeah, I'm pretty willing to eat chalk at running back and wide receiver in a few spots if it's warranted. When you get the Alvin Kamara, workload stuff on a slate like yesterday, I mean, that's a lock button. Devontae Adams all year has been good chalk, but it's not about a specific play. It's about balancing that with the rest of your lineup. That's another reason why looking at those cash lineup optimals is a good way to see, all right, I'm going to probably have a couple guys from these optimal lineups. You look at the top 10 optimal lineups, you're probably going to want a few of those guys, the quote unquote best plays. You just don't want all of them. And then you're looking for pivots. Oh my God, 50% of the field is playing Austin Hooper. Can we find a way to Tunyon? Can we find a way to a lower owned pivot? So that's kind of how I think about it. Honestly, GPP is less stressful for me. Putting up 5 figures on 9 players for one slate isn't for me. Yeah, it goes both ways too. The kind of volume you need to get in cash to start to truly realize your edge in a meaningful way. It all depends what your goals are too. Yeah. Yeah. I mean that, yeah, it's not, it's like the NBA thing, right? No one ever loses in NBA. No one ever loses playing cash. No, you do. You do. Winner take all contests have helped, whereas before I never wanted to try them. Won 3 so far. I really like those contests. I mainly play them for Showdown. I probably should have been playing them more for main slate, but I agree. I would like to look more into kind of the ownership data for those, because at least for Showdown, I mean, people are throwing in really chalky lineups, because what happens is sometimes it's 100-person field, right? And people think, okay, 100-person, I can play the best plays. But when so many people are playing it, you'll see like 80% of the field playing a 4v4, or sorry, it would be a 2v2, because 4 of their players are duplicated. So just even having a unique construction in those winner take all contests is huge. Smiz, I think Smiz is reluctant to get into the Top Shop space. That's why Top Shot has captured my imagination, because I was just reluctant to get into the physical cards. It felt daunting to me. I didn't know where to start. I didn't know where to order them from. I have to store them. I have to get them graded. I have to flip them. Like it overwhelmed me. And then Top Shot came along and I was like, oh, I can have all of the fun without any of the maintenance and the hassle. Sign me up. Sign me up. Crypto card bros versus physical pack grinders. This is going to be the battle of the offseason. For years and years, we had film grinders versus the metric bros for fantasy football. And now it's the Top Shot bros versus the physical pack grinders. We got to workshop those names. The hand builders versus the opto bros. Another war rages on. All right, guys. I real quick want to look at who won the Pete's League, and then I actually do have to get going. Let's see here. Let's see what T-Trains did. At the top, had the Mahomes to Kelsey, brought it back with, oh my God, he burned the flex. Did he? Or no? No, he had all. Okay, he didn't burn the flex. T-Trains just had everyone going on Saturday. Mahomes to Kelsey was all he needed there. This is an interesting lineup. Very interesting there. So in that first game, Akers and Reynolds, bring it back with Lazard. Then at night, you do a mini correlation with Diggs and Brown. Then you play Mahomes to Kelsey with Chubb on the bring back and fade. Wow, Brown's D against Mahomes. This is kind of a funky lineup. This is, again, one of those lineups. I don't think I would have made this lineup. Is T-Trains in the chat? Is T-Trains in the chat? Very interesting lineup. Sniping off a lot of the best plays, but with some kind of funky correlations there. Getting off of just not... What was MT owned in our contest? What was MT owned? Let's see if I can find an MT lineup down here. 44%. So just half the field just wiped out right away by Michael Thomas in this contest. Let's see. Alec, you got 13th with a Darrell Williams. See, I love this. I love using Darrell Williams to get the premium stack in with Hill and Kelsey. Go full game stack with Landry and Higgins on the bring back. Flex that tight end, Gronk at 3,600. Doesn't get there, doesn't matter. Play Dobbins as a low off running back play. Ravens D you correlated with. Yeah, nice lineup. Nice lineup for sure. This turned into a raw point slate. Just trying to get in the most raw points. And Hill and Kelsey, even though they didn't, absolutely smash their price tag, I guess Kelsey did. You just needed those guys. And the, man, I'm still tilted about that Higgins touchdown. That should have been a touchdown. Oh boy. Thank you, Eric. This is, I've really, really enjoyed it. It's been a cathartic show to do, to kind of, put a bow on the week, move on, clear the decks, And yeah, I haven't figured out my full kind of off-season content schedule, but I would love to try to keep some version of this, even without, NFL DFS doing like a Monday morning stream. I've just enjoyed it, from a just a routine standpoint, hanging out with you guys in the chat. So maybe we'll figure out some kind of equivalent. If you guys have ideas for stuff that we can maybe do on Monday mornings, I definitely like starting my week off this way. If you guys are watching for the first time and haven't subscribed, please do so below. You can hit the like button. You can hit the dislike button. You can do whatever you want. We'll be back, though, with a full slate of shows this week. All the usual stuff. I have my show scheduled down there. Oh, I actually, kind of cool news. I have a website now. I have a website. So that has like my full schedule and stuff. I know some people had always told me like it's hard to know what my schedule is. So I got my new website up here. We got links to my YouTube, and then we got the schedule and stuff down here. So some cool stuff. I love how this album cover outlook works. So, yep, you can always find my stuff there. I'm now a guy who has a website. That's where we are at now. But I appreciate you guys. Have a great week. I will get a guest for Friday, and I think I'm going to try to get a Top Shot show in as well for people more interested in diving into those streets. So until then, we will see you guys next time. Have a great week.